Hi everybody, it's Alex Newton from K-lytics, today with our Kindle market trends for February 2020. So let's have a look. Let's go into our trend watch where we follow the performance of the Kindle bestseller titles, aggregate them by category, and give you some of those that showed a particular upward or downward motion over the last months. As always, there is no need to take notes. If you are not a K-lytics member yet, you can download one free copy here at klytics.com/free report. That's klytics.com/free report. Otherwise, as a basic member or up, you can download the report in the members area. Today, I will very much focus on fiction, where we look at romance, mystery, thriller, suspense, science fiction, fantasy, a bit of teen young adult. What's notable this month is that science fiction dropped for a first time in a while below non-fiction. That is usually not the case, so here a bit of a weakness in sci-fi and fantasy. We're going to have a closer look at that as well. In the fiction market, let's start here with mystery, thriller, suspense sales. Overall, as we've moved here towards the right into 2020, the MTS bestseller list has shown a very healthy upward development here trend-wise since last summer, where we saw a bit of a dip during summer, but now we are back here on this healthy track record and we're back up on the levels that we had in August 2018. A whole number of factors have contributed to the positive development. One genre in particular has seen a very strong upward trend, 72% in rank improvement over the last 12 months, and that is psychological thrillers. And that strong long-term trend becomes even more evident if we look at the performance of the category, not just here over the last 18 months, but if we look back for 4 years and just look at this 4-year trend line here of the mystery, thriller, suspense, thrillers, psychological category. I mean, it's always been sky up there. Very high up in the bestseller ranks, and of course there's always these short-term fluctuations, but look at the trend line and look at the acceleration here over the last 18 months. So very strong, and currently just the average of the top 20 titles has an average sales rank of better than 50 store-wide, which is an absolutely exceptional performance. This is currently a very strong bestseller list on the Amazon Kindle platform, and we took it even a step further. We were so intrigued by the performance of this bestseller list that we're just about to release our first time ever psychological thriller special genre report here. It's only a matter of days where it's going to go online. It's a very good report. Very detailed market analysis that you're going to love. So, watch out for it, because this is a category that's not only, high up there in sales. See how high up the dot is on our K-lytics strategy map. The higher up on the map, the better the sales. So this, scratches here as top as it can go. But also competition-wise, interestingly, there are only 13,000 titles. Yes, it is already what we call mainstream, more than 10,000 titles. But 13,366 English-speaking titles, that is not a lot for the current Kindle platform. So very interesting market to look at. Check out our special report. Okay, then sci-fi and fantasy. Now, you see, performance is always also a relative thing. We just mentioned the performance relative to non-fiction has decreased, but in absolute terms, yes, it's been going down here the last 2 months. But if we take the longer-term trend line now into science fiction and fantasy, it's still, usually in the number 3 category on Kindle, and the trend line overall, the trend is still, flat to positive, so not that bad a news. And especially we see a revitalization at the cross section between science fiction and fantasy and romance, specifically here in the fantasy romantic arena, where we see a 33% increase in the performance of the category bestseller ranks. And this is a category where you also hear, very high sales, but only 2,800 copies in the category. And you see a lot of people who write sci-fi romance migrate from the overly crowded or much more crowded romance science fiction category here into the sci-fi and fantasy romantic arena. So here we go. If you're in romance and at the intersection to sci-fi, clearly something to look at. We may obviously also revitalize and update our report. It was one of our first special romance reports, Alien Warrior Romance, from a few years back. I think given that overall development, we will be updating that one. All right, then moving over to romance in general. And by the way, before we go there, see, I haven't gone into all that detail on sci-fi and fantasy because we're just about to release our update of our biannual sci-fi and fantasy report. So also on this one, just check back in over the next week or so. Will definitely be way before end of February. Okay, back to romance. Now, romance, #1 category on Kindle. Always very strong. Trend-wise now a little bit weaker these days, basically at the expense of the uptrend in the mystery thriller suspense arena, where mystery thriller suspense has probably taken here a little bit of share overall from this very strong category. If we look into the details, actually not medical, but here's sports. Sports romance is one of those, also already in the mainstream, but still, way below 20,000 titles on the platform. One of the very strong romance categories these days, probably following the Super Bowl. And it's been, a long-term, one of these typical romance categories that have their certain periods, their fashion, And this goes here way back here to 2015, where it was very strong, then dropped, very strong again. You see all these peaks and valleys, but what we see now here, it was strong here in February 2018, and now it was pretty weak then in 2019. Now that we went into February here 2020, we see this uptick here again. So could be interesting over the next few months to follow here. And that reminds me, I should probably also update our special sports romance report for the members in due course. See, if we just make this a little bigger and look only at the last 18 months, we see this 28% sales rank improvement in this romance subcategory, and that's a degree of improvement that in the subcategory level in romance you don't see that often. All right, then what else is there? We look also briefly now at teen young adult. Let's take a closer look. Category that is usually number 4, number 5 on Amazon Kindle, here with a good sideways movement, perhaps ever so slightly trending up as we go into February 2020. But within teen young adult, there are actually many categories. Amazon introduced a whole dozen of new categories about 12 months ago, where it really goes down into pretty detailed levels. This one is interesting here: teen young adult, science fiction and fantasy, paranormal and urban, vampires. Now we all know vampire romance overall has been like an evergreen. Vampires never die. This one is interesting, I found, is because almost always when you see something a vampire trending on Amazon, it can usually be traced back to Bella Forest and Shades of Vampire or Harley Merlin, you name it. Now look at this category here. I don't see any of Bella Forest books in here, so the drivers behind this upward trend is actually all those authors here with their type of interpretation of the whole vampire story. So you see a bit of academy romance in there. Supernatural battle, check out Kelly Sinclair and a number of other authors here. So yes, a bit of academy romance, but also some other stuff interesting to check out, because it's just look at the performance of the category, and the books in those categories has been pretty strong here over the last year. And from a competition point of view, well, if you just look at the category, well, the average sales is around 4,400 across the top 20 title. So it's not like super high up there, but if you have a category with less than 600 titles, you see that's another type of strategy you can have as an author. You have teen young adult as per se, only a sub-market of the overall market as an age group. And then if you go into this whole paranormal vampire group, it's a pretty, clearly carved out niche that some authors are doing really well in. All right, let's conclude with a couple of words on pricing. Overall, price levels have been going up over the last 18 months. Well, not over the last 18 months, but ever since here April, May 2018, Trend-wise, if we look at romance, pretty clear upward trend. So trend-wise, we're now 50 cents above where we were about a year ago, which, given that romance are usually the lowest priced books on the store, that is quite a significant increase. For mystery, thriller, suspense, more a slightly downturn. Well, you see also, although I always think the book market is not that price sensitive, but here you could interpret it well. Prices have been going down. As a result, demand has been going up. If we look at the extremely strong performance of the MTS bestseller list, although I would be careful to make a one-to-one causal relationship between price and demand on the book market, of course. And also good news for sci-fi and fantasy ebook prices. Very stable upward trend. My interpretation of all this is usually, well, you have a rising advertising cost, and you only get a return on investment if you advertise books that also make some money, or then on the series level, you have to earn back the money somewhere. So, whether you advertise for a $2.99 book, a $3.99 book, $4.99 book, I would probably raise the prices if I know I'm bidding for the respective keywords and have to earn back some return on investment. So that is my interpretation, that somewhere that cost of advertising, cost of getting placements on Amazon is indirectly baked back into the prices to at least some degree, and not just absorbed by the authors and publishers alone, but also borne by the consumers in a certain degree. So if we just look at the trend line, also here, Sci-Fi Fantasy gained 50 cents over a 1 year period. All right. So much for today. As said, get a free copy if you don't have one or are not a member at K-lytics.com/free report. I look forward to seeing you in the members area at K-lytics.com. That's K-lytics.com. My name is Alex Newton from K-lytics, ebook market intelligence for success. Bye-bye for now.